right. This is exciting. Thanks everyone for coming today. This will be a little different. I've been having some great interviews with people, so this is a little different for me. Angela Wick is a longtime colleague. She was one of the first people I met when I started doing speaking and things. I think we met in Toronto, which was one of the first places I was at. It's like the second talk I got to give was in Toronto, something like 15-ish years ago, maybe. And then we ran into each other again in Chicago. And I have to tell all of you, and I think Angela may know this. I don't know. If not, then now's the time you find out. Angela almost helped me basically she basically is the one who introduced me to the IIBA from my Agile book when they wanted to do the Agile extension. And she said, I am overloaded. I can't do this right now. I have a lot of other competing commitments. I would love to. But hey, I met this guy. He wrote this book about it. And one of the people at IIBA took a look at it and then reached out to me and said, I would really like you to be involved with this extension. I like how you make information accessible and so forth. And I think you'll have something to add there. And that began my chain of events of talking and being involved with the IIBA in a lot of different ways, and actually led to this minute here, because if I hadn't gotten more involved with those things, I don't know that I'd be doing this. I never said in any part of my career, I really want to do this. It's like, oh, I want to speak in front of people. I would have run away from you if you told me that was the thing I was going to be doing later in life and being fine with it. So Angela has been that influence on me. But who is Angela? So Angela is, if there is a person with the term thought leadership, I should apply it to her. Okay, I know we all have mixed feelings about that, but she is one of the people who forges ahead in the field. She has been one of the primary authors of, is it more than one BA Bach, or is it
just the latest one?
Just the latest one. Okay.
It's been around for 10 years.
Yeah. So she's been doing that, and I can't even guess at the right number of people to describe that you have trained and taught and influenced in your life as a independent person who owns the BA Cube enterprise. And if you don't know Angela's name as an educator, as someone to follow, as a person to examine for whenever you need support, help, your next step of learning, any of those things, you should. She is one of the names in the field you need to know. So that is why I am grateful that she's had that influence on me before I knew who she was, because it's like I'm having this conversation in these meeting rooms with people. I'm like, oh my God, oh, well, you're great. So you're talking to, what are you talking about? And it's just, we're having that kind of conversation. And later on, I'm like, oh, that's who I was talking to. Okay. That's it. So, Angela, I don't know I want to make sure you get a moment. Tell people how to connect with you or anything else you'd like to add to the somewhat that very off the cuff introduction to who you are. So what would you like to add to that, if anything? Please feel free.
Sure. Thanks, Rylan. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, no, I'm just bacube.com is my website. I also do LinkedIn Learning, and just had a new class drop on LinkedIn Learning yesterday about stakeholder conversations. And then also recently handed in the manuscript for a book on AI and business analysis. So look for that coming this spring. And excited to be here, Rylan, to chat more about a topic you and I chat about all the time: careers, BA careers, how to grow them. I mean, you told a little bit about your story and how you and I and how some of that's helped grow your career, and we can dig into tips and tricks for everyone. I can share a little bit about my story as well.
Yeah. So
How did my career grow? How did everyone's career grow? I think we all have inspiring stories to tell, right?
Yeah. So let me set a little more context and just infrastructure for folks, because I realized I didn't. So folks, a lot of the time I have folks who are helping me with chat and everything else. Today, it's just Angela and I, because we're in the middle of the day. So please feel free to put questions, comments, thoughts over in the chat. I will go over to that sometimes and look at it when Angela's speaking and kind of do the two things at once with my brain if I can. Also, take a look at both Angela's LinkedIn and website, and of course mine as well. This is one of several conversations I'm having, because 2024 is, as I'm making it, your year of career. Okay, I keep getting these career questions, and I am not the only person in the tent to have these conversations with. So I want to, I've had this one, I have two more coming up on people who have become managers lately and want to talk about the change in perspective they have with that. I had Laura Brandenburg on for a similar conversation, and that is on YouTube. So these are all on YouTube later on. Please take a look there and subscribe to there. And you can also subscribe to the playlist I have for 2024, Your Year of Career. These recordings are all getting put to that as it goes. So yeah, so Angela, so just coming back, that's it. Maybe we'll cap that again at the end if I can remember to keep us for time. We are going to end right at the hour today. Okay, just so you know. So, Angela, we were talking ahead, and the two main themes today we've got, because as I listened to my folks and looked at a little bit of these conversations I've had in the past, most people I'm speaking with are interested in becoming more senior individual contributors. They're either looking to get into the field or their career aspiration isn't necessarily in management or director or executives. It's how do I become, I think of it as the name brand business analyst that people ask for directly and personally. So we had how do you get started? And then once you're getting started, once you're successfully started, how do you see through to the next level and become that person? And I'm going to leave that open to you because maybe you want to talk about how you got into this field or just jump in on any of those things as strikes you the most.
You just threw the whole
There's a
big
bucket,
conversation out there. You're
giant bucket
like,
right at you.
I'm not starting with a little piece, going the whole thing here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of see two routes into the BA career, and there is a book that I did help write with IIBA back in 2012 called Managing Business Analysts. There was a chapter on BA careers, and that was my chapter that I wrote in it. I think they still sell it on Amazon. I don't know. I'm not listed as the author because the editor is listed as the author because there were 13 different people that wrote each chapter. But anyway, one of the diagrams I drew was like a diagram of how you get into the BA career and then where the BA career goes from there. And so if I distill it down, though, there's kind of two entry paths that I see. One is being a subject matter domain person. And I have mixed feelings about this because although I do recommend that people who want to be BAs, that's kind of your ticket in. If you know a lot about healthcare claims processing, you need to go apply for BA jobs in healthcare claims processing because your knowledge of that process and system is what will get you in the door.
Yes.
Now, on the flip side of it, to grow in your BA career, you have to let the knowledge sit in a different bucket in your brain and know when to access it, but it will not grow your career as a BA. The other way to get in the door as a BA is to show ridiculously strong problem solving and critical thinking skills, along with relationship skills. And those two don't often come together. But if you can show that you have both, a lot of times those are the people that somehow landed in a BA career and don't know how. A manager's like, you need to be a BA. Or
Mhm.
you can show those skills through an interview process. And I would say that might be how I got into it, because I got into it right away out of university, not through any domain expertise.
Mhm.
But somehow I was able to show I could break down a big thing into small chunks and show the relationships between it, the critical thinking, and that I had good communication and people skills.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
that
totally
would be
agree.
my how do we get into the career thing, those two paths. I don't know, Rylan, what do you think?
So I tend to agree that you can't you're kind of the exception that proves a little bit of the rule, I guess. Because for me, one of the things was the BA work is nobody. I always say the BA job is nobody's first thing right out of school, and it kind of was for you. So I don't know that I can say that anymore. But the reason is, like you said, you have to bring something to the table. It's either typically domain knowledge or technical knowledge, right? If you find a developer or a QA person or somebody, if you're one of those folks and you gravitate towards business problems and want to solve them, or you really you're really good at helping the business understand the technical issue on the table in a way that they can integrate their knowledge and then help you to make a decision, then you come from the tech side. Otherwise, it's the business side with a lot of domain knowledge, and you have an affinity for the tech or affinity for conversation about it. I think either of those works. And then what we've been finding is very related to what you said with some people's conversation. There's the tap on the shoulder. There's the, hey, I would love it if you would join us to do this. Have you thought about being a BA? Because you're always our go-to person in the business, and usually you know what we're asking before we ask it.
Yeah.
Things like that, the invitation in, the hand in, the tap on the shoulder. So I think that's how people get started.
Right.
And I guess let's throw this out there for a second. I'm going to make a statement and then you can agree, disagree, or riff on it for a second. How's this?
All right, let's try it.
I think the thing is, and this is what I call the difference between the subject matter expert BA and the actual BA. Okay. Subject matter expert is sort of they know enough about it and they can be a BA in this particular tower of knowledge. But you move them outside of it and they can't because they know it so intuitively they're not they are a they are a conscious competent on their domain knowledge and in kind of an unconscious incompetent on the BA space of like the technical professional skills of being a BA, right? How do I do
Totally.
diagrams, elicitation, track and trace requirements, entity relationship modeling, all the stuff about being a BA, the phases of requirements and elicitation and documentation that we go through,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. They're not that's a whole other skill. So a actual professional BA knows in one way or another the BA BOK content, whether they've learned it through the BOK or not. They've
Mhm.
done that.
Right.
And that's the difference that is going to get you. Once you're in the door, I would say you need to start tracking that knowledge, whether it's by reading the BOK, which is not a how-to guide. Okay.
Right.
It's not a how-to. It doesn't tell you exactly how to do these things. You have to pick a path forward, and that makes you more of a actual business analyst. What do
Yep.
you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'd say that's one skill I was forced to learn early on. I had no domain knowledge ever to rely on. So I had to build the skills very quickly of providing value, doing critical thinking, asking curious questions, connecting the dots, stuff like that. Right. And that was a huge thing because, we do see a lot of BAs that come into the role because of their knowledge of a domain, business, or system.
Hmm.
But then, like you said, they really struggle if you give them anything different. And then the longer they're a BA outside of being inside of the business domain or technical domain, even if they're connected, they are not aware of when that knowledge has changed and is no longer valid. So then there becomes this pull and this gravity of like, you become less and less and less effective as a BA because your knowledge is no longer valid and you didn't build the skills that BAs need to
Right.
operate without knowledge. And so if you're a BA coming in with that subject matter knowledge, it's super important to learn the tried and true BA skills in order to grow your career and get to that mid senior level and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. It's like I was thinking about this because I've seen a few people with this sort of problem now or otherwise.
Yeah.
So you've been a SME kind of BA, and and you lose your job, downsizing, merger, something else, and now you're looking for other BA jobs, and you don't have the professional skills to rely on for it. Somebody like me asks you, "What's your BA approach? What's your favorite go-to technique?
Yeah, they
Have you
would
drawn a
know.
context diagram? How do you start your work?" They don't have an answer. They
Right.
say, well, I know a lot about claims processing. So you're a subject matter expert. And if I need claims processing BAs, I can consider you. But if I don't, what are you bringing to the table? It's that job security, safety, and aspect things. And that's part of what I look at with new BAs. It's like, it's great. Nobody expects you to have that on day one, by the way, especially if you're new in the field. Okay. I'm not
Right.
saying, but I'm saying progression, right? So that's how I think of that. And it's like, you gotta bring that in. You got to look at it as, okay, if I had to do everything I do in my day job now with a totally different field unrelated to my own, how would I be successful? Might be a good question for people to ask themselves about
Yeah.
the solidity of their BA professional skills.
In my
And
consulting career, when I managed a large team of BAs, that was kind of one of the common things we talked about between the sales team, the delivery teams, the recruiting teams, everyone. It was the best BAs, we all, after interviewing them, believed they could parachute into any organization with zero knowledge
yes,
and add value on day one.
yep, I
And that's
100%
that's the
agree.
boat we needed to hire people into like a senior BA role.
And that I think that is the thing for consulting VAs in the sense of that, even in a company, by the way, that should be your aspiration inside a company. You treat yourself like you're a consultant,
Yeah,
even within the company you work at, because you're being brought in to think differently than most people in the room, to understand them, but you aren't trying to be them, right? That's how I see it. But
totally,
as a
right?
yeah, and
Isn't
as a
and
cons
that's like one of those questions that you wanted to prep us with. How do we move into more senior level
yeah,
individual contributor roles? And I think that's one of those big differentiators, Ryland, is someone who can who can add value to all the different stakeholders without being told what to do, and realizing that when everyone's telling you what to do, that's just kind of their version in their mind. You're not actually supposed to do exactly what they say. You're supposed to listen for the intent and
Yeah.
what they're actually needing, not what they're saying, just like our stakeholders when they tell us requirements. Their actual stated requirements are not the real requirements. But that skill and that experience of being able to say, okay, they're asking for this. This is a project manager asking for it. They manage scope, budget, deadlines. So they're asking for this because they're trying to understand if we're on schedule. Okay, I don't want to recreate the wheel and from scratch create exactly what they asked for, but I do have this that I could show them. And I'm going to get major kudos. And this is how I worked in my career. Project manager asked me for something that, like, I didn't, gosh, I don't have that. I'd put me and myself behind to create that. But if I think about what the intent of that person is asking for, I have
Mhm.
something else I can send them that'll take me 5 minutes to
Yep.
quickly grab it and explain it to them and just validate that that meets their need. And 9 times out of 10, that project manager should be like, wow, I love this girl. Like, because
Right.
A, I responded quickly and met their need. I didn't look at them with a blank stare like, what's that? Oh, okay, I guess I'll put everything else on hold. But then an hour later, a developer asked for this, and I don't have that either. And they need more detail on this, and I don't have exactly that either. So it's always like reframing what people are asking for. Am I
Mhm.
resonating, Ryland, with this and
Oh,
how to
absolutely.
get up the level?
Absolutely. And I think that is it. I mean, there's actually so much, there's a lot to unpack there. One of the things was I agree. There's the order taker thing, and if anybody's tuned in with me before, I always say unless there's very few cases I want an order taker. I'm actually usually asking questions, probing for it during a BA interview, saying, is this person applying their brain to the thing at hand, or are they just jumping to execute?
Right.
And I don't want that. I don't want jump to execute. That's not your job.
Especially with AI coming, if we can talk about AI for a moment,
Absolutely.
with AI coming more and more and more into the fold, this is going to become a bigger deal. BAs that don't use their brain and think before executing, like, right? It's
Yeah,
going to be detrimental. Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, there's AI offers so much on the table, right? There's garbage in, garbage out, right? How you train the AI models, what you ask it for, what you define as important, right?
Yeah.
Any of these things. Um, and it can take, there's just so many pieces to that. And it is a huge, giant topic that I think we could probably go off on a giant tangent too, but I know that you are looking a lot at how that affects the BA world and
Mhm.
the skills people have. And maybe this is a good minute to maybe just do a couple of moments on that. I'm like, what are you seeing about that? And given that people are looking at careers, their job, and being future forward, perhaps, what
Yeah.
should they be thinking about, if anything, in this space?
So if you are an intermediate senior BA, you should be using AI to augment your work almost as if it's a brand new intern right out of university. You're treating AI like an intern. You're
Hmm.
developing the skills of giving instructions. You're developing your skills of questioning what you get back. It's just the AI agent will do it a lot faster than an intern would. An intern might take a week to turn something around. An AI agent takes 2 minutes. But you still have to look at the results and say, wait, what instructions did I give it? And what more questions do I have for them about what they produce for me? Right? You would never just take what an intern gives you with no experience, no knowledge, because they have to go find that knowledge just like an AI agent would, right? Like a chat GPT. So
Hmm.
I really like to say that BAs should treat it as if they have someone working under them that can just go and get information faster. But it helps us build leadership skills because how we give the instructions, how we prompt, how we question, and how we lead the AI tool is critical. And that shows your level and your seniority. So I think we can build leadership skills through leveraging AI. Now, if you're more junior, that doesn't mean you can't leverage AI. You just have to have a different lens about it, right? If you're more junior, you can leverage AI to do a ton of stuff like research the business process domain and do draft models. I think you just have to realize you don't know what you don't know. You cannot use it
Yeah.
as an answer. It's context to help you learn faster and help you connect with your stakeholders faster through AI, if that makes sense.
I think it does. And I'm going to give my, is it okay if I'm going to give my one foray into this to kind of look at something one time, just
Yeah.
as an experiment. I said, I took a scope statement I was actually working on for an effort I was involved with, and I threw it into, I forget whatever engine it was, and said, give me the first 10 requirements, the first 10 business requirements you might consider from this. And it gave me some stuff that didn't make sense really. And then I said, let me take a slightly different approach. What might a statement of work look like based upon the following scope parameters? And got that. And it actually did a pretty good job for what an SOW would be.
Uh-huh.
Now, if I had handed that in as here's what I propose as the SOW for this unedited, I would have been appropriately laughed out of the room. Okay.
Right.
It was wrong for my project and the effort I was working with. But it was really interesting to see what it came back with as statements and so on. And I thought, okay, interesting, because I was being very critical about its work from the outside. So I was looking at this as though another BA had given me this to evaluate. I was now evaluating how good was this work, and said, if I added the following things to this, it might be really fascinating.
And it came up
So
with things you hadn't thought about, which is magical.
yeah, which is great, right? And that's a kind of lateral thinking, which is a creative thinking, creative ideation technique, lateral thinking. A little bit of random entry, a bunch of other stuff that I was like, okay, interesting. So there you go, folks. Part of that, if I were taking away thing from what Angela just said, which I am, by the way, it would be developing your skills at asking AI questions, asking an AI engine questions that might help you to do your job more efficiently is probably a great first step for people in whatever way. As a junior BA, my edit on this, that was part of my example, do not assume it is doing your work for you. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Okay. It doesn't know what you're actually getting in the room. It only knows what you're telling it, and you can't possibly dump your whole brain into something this way. It doesn't work that way. As a senior
Wait a
professional,
minute. Didn't Elon Musk just plant a chip in someone's brain to try that?
I don't know about the details of that. And oh my God, I want to leave that alone for the moment.
No problem. Just had to throw it out.
That's okay. I will say I do follow a little bit about how that helps people with physical disabilities or injuries
Yes.
or Parkinson's or other things where there's neuromotor issues or absence of the limb in question to
Yep.
actually manipulate, motor functions either in their body or a tool. And I am absolutely enamored with that set of things. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm a little worried on the security aspect of it, but I am not worried about like the mental security, like someone's programming your brain. But I am thinking like, wow, great, we're finally getting to the point where we could really do a lot for people with neuromotor issues or traumatic injury.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to roll us back a little to the BA topic a bit, and I'm seeing some questions populating in the chat. So the popcorn is starting to happen, as I call it, right? A few kernels pop, and then people start coming in with their ideas, which is great. Um, let's take one thing if we didn't, as I think we have. I think, and I'm gonna look at this in the window here, and I'm just gonna put a thing on this so I have an idea. Or give me a thumbs up. I see we have 48 people, including the two of us. If you feel like we covered the basics of how to get started in the field, give me a thumbs up. If you are satisfied, move on, good to go, getting started, I'm covered, I'm happy. Just a little audience feedback would be helpful because I cannot see your faces. And, if I get, a bunch of people saying a thumbs up and I see a scattering that is, I will call it pretty good. Okay. If there's something we didn't cover on that is oh, I got a thumbs down from somebody. Somebody wants to know more. Okay. If I didn't, I'm going to put a note here. I'm going to put a note in the chat. Answer this specifically as a response thing. It's like, what did we miss about getting started? Okay. I'm going to put that there, and just to put a response on it in the chat, if we missed something and you really want to know about it, we might rewind to that. I want to hit this topic for a minute. I think it's important. And we were talking about the difference between what's the difference between like your average BA and your name brand BA. And we talked about a couple of things that were like similar to what we talked about for entry level, but we definitely see it, right? They apply thinking, they have both the individual and the personal skills, right? The technical and the interpersonal skills. And I think offline we had talked about how more and more important the interpersonal becomes as you become more senior. And I think we
Yep.
should talk about that.
Totally.
And just the other things like, not being an order taker, having a process, knowing your profession. Like what else might you say if you wanted to pick out a couple of things? Like the difference, if I were looking at somebody's, I met them, I was interviewing them perhaps, or looking at their resume or looking at their work, what would stand out to you and say, yeah, that person's a leading BA, senior, whether they're leading or not in title, that's a senior individual practitioner versus not quite there yet.
I've interviewed and hired hundreds of BAs when I was a BA manager. I have a very clear idea on this.
Okay.
And it's the BAs that can, when I ask them, for example, tell me about this project on their resume, when a BA can say very clearly what the project was set out to achieve, what problem it was trying to solve, what the user impacts are, and what their specific role was in it. That's great. What I hear a lot of that makes me go, okay, run of the mill, average, maybe average BA. They talk about, well, we implemented blah, blah, blah system. And my job was to write the requirements document. And they talk all about documents and the tech. And so I'm sitting here thinking that as a hiring manager, and I would think this as any manager, no matter I'm hiring or managing a team. Wait a second, I'm asking you what this project's about, and you cannot articulate the business and user problems we're trying to solve as the most basic part of your answer. That tells me their mindset's not in the right place to perform as a BA.
I think that's good. I wouldn't disagree with the thing you said. Not even a little.
And so
And I'll,
that's not just searching for a job, but it's on the job too. It applies, right?
yeah. Yeah. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this and who benefits? That's usually
And at the
that's
detailed level too, like I think some BAs can be like, yeah, everyone knows that. And they think about that at the high level. But I mean, on a day-to-day basis,
mhm.
feature by feature, requirement by requirement, user story by user story, use case by use case. Do you understand the people and problem domain at every single level and how it traces up? And
I
can you
think that
communicate that to all stakeholders in different ways, sometimes to different stakeholders, but it's not about the tech.
okay.
I'm gonna I'm gonna just say that. I'll be bold.
No, I don't. I would, like I said, I wouldn't disagree in any way. I think it- at the risk of extending it, because I don't want to change what Angela just said. I think everything there's totally on. I don't know that I would have said that, and I love it. I'm going to use that sometime if I'm interviewing people because I think I look for things like that, but I don't know that I would say it as concisely. Um, I think the other thing I look for when I see that is that ability in there. So as I was saying, it's the who's going to benefit from this thing, which is usually a very agile perspective I like to take. Like, why are we doing it? What's the point? Oh, well, it'll cut cost. How much and how fast and for who? Is it enough? Does it make sense? All those, even that's a thing I've seen with some folks. Well, we're going to reduce costs. Great. Where are they coming about? How will we know? Right. But, but who's benefiting? Right. Well, this will make it easier on the sales agents to record CRM type activity. Really? Okay, what problems are they having with it now? And what is better so that I can focus on that so that I know we are solving their problem? Oh, don't
Right.
worry, it's got to be better. The old system is 20 years old, but they know it and they can use it.
Famous
Is
last words, and then they complain about the new system sucks.
exactly why? Why does it
And
suck and
that
all
is a
that? But it's
BA
like
problem.
who's going to
That
get
is
it now? So the ability to help a stakeholder see something that you haven't seen. Like if somebody said, "Well, we're implementing this thing," like everything you had said, they can say it, but they're saying, but someone wants to bring a feature in, and maybe it's someone with authority or power, positional or otherwise. Well, I want to do this feature also, or I want to get this thing done, or it's really important to me, or it's really important to this executive. They're pointing to executive authority. They're borrowing that on behalf of the thing they're saying. Okay, that's great. Is that more important than the work already on the table?
yes.
Is that actually going to meet the thing? Well, somebody wants it to work this way. Well, how do you appropriately maintaining relationship and while still honoring your responsibility to all the people and all the stakeholders involved, say to this leadership or senior person, I think that may be in conflict with the primary goal of the project, and we're going to have to give up something that's more important to get it done. Or I can't quite see how it fits. Where should it fit? Or something. And maintain that person from, feeling alienated by you because you have to work through other people. You only get, we as BAs, we don't directly create most things.
Yeah.
We work a lot from a position of influence, that authority. So I think the ability to do all the things you said and then use it in a communicative, structured way successfully with stakeholders who may be difficult is
Mhm.
another hallmark of that.
Yes. Yeah, it's that combination of hard and soft skills. Those two are not separate, they are related.
Yeah.
So, like if I say, okay, someone has a hard skill of creating process models, maybe they took a class on it at a university, they might be experts at BPMN and a process model. But if they can't prove that they've facilitated a conflict-ridden group through through that process,
Mhm.
not sure I care about the hard skills. Again, I'll be a little bold on that. I would rather someone have the most basic foundational process skills that someone can teach in 2 seconds. Action, noun, arrow, action, noun, arrow, action, noun, right? 5-step process box, all action, noun, and that's a user action, right?
Mhm.
That to me, and the ability to work with a diverse group of stakeholders with conflicting needs,
Yes.
it's far more powerful than someone who is very advanced in their technical process modeling skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the one who has the lower hard skill but the higher soft skill and can bring the two together is going to advance in their career faster. But what does soft skill mean, Ryland? Right? Like you
Right.
touched on this when we quick touch base last night, right? That what does soft skill exactly mean? And I think one of my comments is, well, you're never done.
Yes.
You're never done growing in your soft skills. There's always more to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking about that when we talked about it. Let me throw a few examples of that out.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's see if this resonates with our audience. And then, Angela, after we finish this particular thread, I'd love to take a few pieces of the good popcorn that's popping in the chat. I see a
Sure.
few things where let's tackle those.
Yeah.
Um, just because I really want people to get what, folks, the reason we do this, and I really, Angela, the reason Angela gives her time to this also is we want this to be helpful for everybody who's here in the room. Okay. You're the folks that showed up. We love that there's a recording, but we care that it makes a difference for those of you who are here. Okay. So that is a big deal to us. Um, so the thing I was thinking about increasing in that is like the like level 0 or level 1 of it is being able to do a one-on-one interview with a stakeholder, right? Successful, purpose-focused stakeholder interview
I'll
about,
add to that.
yeah,
Can one-on-one with a um, user level stakeholder
okay.
under some certain low risk conditions.
Yes, that would be level 1, like the basics. Easy. Yeah, let's say context and person and topic, right?
Mhm.
The context is friendly, not hostile, because we've
Uh-huh.
done hostile, right? I
Uh-huh.
don't want this change.
Right.
The person is, so that's the context is good. The person is fairly friendly and knowledgeable and able to communicate and elicit and discuss the topic well with you. And the topic is a simple one. Like
Yeah.
what's not working well, what would look well instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that might be level 1. I don't know. I'm not going to try to describe a multiple of levels here, but let's go with like 3. Another would be like being able to increase in either number of people you can handle at the same time up to a formal workshop.
Hmm.
And then increasing, and that's like one axis is volume and another is difficulty, right?
Yeah.
If we were making because you and I do this, I'm about to draw a picture. Oh my God, right? If you have these axes of maybe we have a good way to describe this, increasing numbers of people and increasing degree of difficulty or conflict in
Yep.
whatever way, right? Um, if there are people who can run a skilled, a good an elicitation workshop amongst people who are all invested is one thing. That workshop amongst people who are in conflict is a whole different thing,
And then
right?
depending on the level that they're at in the organization too, like
Also,
doing a user group where everyone's happy, vested, agrees with the project goals, all rah rah,
yeah,
easy for a workshop, even though a workshop's much more difficult than a one-on-one conversation.
yeah,
But doing a workshop with all director, VP, SVP levels where they're all in conflict potentially on what each of their individual department goals are. And there's
Yes.
politics involved and the money involved that they're all trying to guard or grab or, oh
And
boy.
the and as you and I have talked about, right, if you think about disc profiles or just other things about communication, right, talking to individual contributors who do the job is a radically, you ask, what's the point of this project to somebody with an IC kind of mentality on the user side?
Yeah.
The same question to somebody who's a, senior director, SVP, C-suite
Yeah.
about that project, you will get completely different answers that may look nothing alike, even the purpose of the project,
Right.
right? That individual person might be saying, well, I'll be able to enter orders faster. If it works, I'll be able to enter orders faster and
Yeah.
do my job easier. The other person is saying, we will increase our revenue by 40% because of reduced rework and increased volume of orders.
Right. And an entry
Those
level
are
or a junior
totally
BA
different.
says, when they hear those two different things, says, I don't know what to do. There's competing objectives. And a senior
Right,
level
right,
BA, a
right.
senior level BA is like, this makes sense. Okay.
Yep, yeah,
And here are
yeah,
the things I'm going to do next about it.
right. And they can reconcile issues between them and surface them in ways that make sense,
Yeah.
right?
And with everyone being happy.
Yeah, and hopefully so, yeah. Like, okay, you want to get 40% more revenue or throughput or whatever, and this person says, this feature you're going to build me, that's not where it takes me the most time in the first place. This is where it really matters to me. This other feature really is what I need. And you aren't getting ready to do that. Hey, we might have a scope change here or a
Yeah.
feature change. And
Does
it's
that
important
item
to
the
bring it
user
up.
wants connect to the leadership value? So it's connecting the two and the analysis and thinking skills, right? To say, okay,
Yeah.
that feature they're complaining about, does that connect to that metric the leader wants? I don't know. Well, how am I going to find out? To the user, tell me more about this process. What do you do before? What do you do after? How often do you do this every day? Tell me more about your challenges. Okay, well then can you connect for me how it links up to this metric that your leader might care about? And they might be able to, they might not be able to. It's investigating that curiousness to connect those dots, right?
It's, yeah, that's, I think, a huge thing about the senior to junior, or rather, moving
Yeah.
along the axis of skill there, because it doesn't stop. And I agree. I just think it's a thing that I'm gonna put a pin on this if it's all right. The last thing I want to say about it, and then you get the last word beyond, is just because I see a couple of good questions we really should pivot to.
Yeah, get to.
Is sometimes if you're scared to do that, like I was terrified to run a room the first time I had to do it, but I watched a couple of people do it who I thought were rock stars at it, and I invested more than double the time of the projected meeting in preparation for it. Okay.
Yes.
And just because I was a beginner at it, I could do the same thing in now far less than half the time of the regular meeting if it weren't
Yes.
contentious. But it's a skill. You build it like anything else, and then you move on from there. And where I wasn't comfortable with senior leaders in the room for that kind of workshop, it's an everyday thing to me now. It doesn't bother me.
I
Did it,
would,
but it took a long time.
I agree. That's a really, really good pin on getting to that senior level that when you are spending, and I'd even up it to, I mean, I remember spending 10 to 20 times the meeting duration on the prep. And that included meeting with some of the meeting participants ahead of time, meeting with leaders, adjacent leaders, creating visual things at the right level of detail and testing that they're at the right level of detail with certain people. Yes, so understanding and leading the process of planning a critical meeting and spending that much time on it, 10 to 40 hours
Yeah.
on critical meetings. Not every meeting, right? Like Ryland, I think
God,
a lot
no.
of run-of-the-mill meetings are still important. You'll spend 2 to 5 hours prepping for. But the super, super important decision-making ones or super important workshops, it's very, very common to spend 10 to 40 hours planning for it. And you don't ask for permission from your boss. Can I spend 40 hours planning this meeting? You just, it, you find a way to move all of your perceived other work along while you're doing it. It all kind of flows together, right?
Mhm.
Okay, get to your questions,
Um,
Riley. Yeah.
I would love to just testing. Can you still see and hear me? You can't. Okay.
Well, I can. What happened?
And I don't know. Everything went crazy on my end here. So if I drop, you are
Oh, they're saying
co-hosting.
yes.
They're saying they can see and hear me. All right.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
over here dropped. I don't know why. So I'll try to wrangle that. I'm actually going to see if I can figure that out while we're chatting. But the key thing here for this was I remember somebody, I was looking at it, someone is a career changer trying to figure out how to get into the field and make a difference that way. And looking at the agility roles, the Scrum Master, and other things. And
Oh, we just lost him. I found the chat, Ryland. I'll pick up where you left off. Um, so a career switcher, very process oriented with a lot of facilitation experience. Gotten a taste recently with some UX projects, getting good feedback. This is all amazing, EJ, by the way. You are on the right track. Learning about lean, agile, scrum, considering certification, not sure if a BA role. Okay, EJ, I have some thoughts for you on this, and I'm sure there are others in your position, whether they're experienced or not. I would be less concerned right now about the title and the role, and I'd be more concerned right now with your experience and background about getting on a team where you love the boss, your manager, and the people you're working with. Because quite frankly, some scrum masters and product owners are the same exact thing as a BA in some organizations, and in some organizations, they're completely different. So I want to get less hung up on the title and role, and I want to get more into, are you working with people that are helping you grow? And I would say this is for anybody, no matter where in their career they are. And think about, you can use your process orientation and facilitation skills that you have in any of those roles. And I think being in any of those roles with the right partner, like your boss, your leader, is going to help you figure out if you want to, and you don't have to focus on one of those roles for a career. A lot of people bounce between them. So, hey, Ryland, welcome back. I found EJ's question, read it, answered it. Your turn. Oh, we can't hear you though right now. You're not on mute, but your mic must not be on. So, well, let's see if Ryland gets back. But EJ, if you want to come off mute or comment, oh, here he says, good feedback. Now wondering how to find a good boss and team. Oh, that's a that's a good one.
Hey, this is EJ. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you think that I might be on the right track. So just to like one thing that's on my mind is like one reason I came to this session is I was sort of led to it by getting involved in the Agile community where I live in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. That's Minneapolis, St. Paul. And um, I just I find that like I am really interested in finding the people. Like what you said about finding a good boss and team, that's really on my mind.
Mhm.
But it's like, well, how do you do that? I mean, because the if I go simply by job postings, I'm not sure that's quite going to give me the taste of what I'm looking for. Or I certainly haven't seen any job postings that jump out at me and I
Yes and
find
no,
exciting.
right?
And I also
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm quite ready to become like a product owner or scrum master. I sort of feel like I need to come into a team as an entry level, observe, and then learn from those folks. But how does one do that?
So I love your mindset, but I would definitely make a slight shift in it. And that is, you have to think about coming onto a team and adding value right away. If you come in and think, I'm going to observe and wait, you're very, very, very at risk for layoff or not getting your contract renewed or whatever, right? So one of the mantras I've always had when I come onto a new team is, how can I add value every single day? Right. And that might be, and a lot of that's just being really in tune. And my guess is from your experience with problem solving, facilitation, and just being your more advanced in your career journey, you've got some of these skills intuitively of how to kind of connect with other people and figuring out how you can help them and asking them in a nice way, how can you help them? So how do you get that job? So job postings might be difficult. You can get a lot of clues from job postings. Like, are they looking for someone to document and technical skills, or are they looking for problem solving and facilitation skills? Uh, at the same token, a lot of companies just have canned job postings. The manager isn't able to write their own. So little hit or miss there. But I would just do a lot of networking within the Twin Cities. So I put you a note in there. I was born and raised in MSP. I live in California now, but MSP is a great market for all of these roles. There's a lot of financial services, a lot of healthcare organizations, a lot of tech, tons and tons of these jobs. So do a lot of networking. Go to the local IIBA chapter, start networking. You are likely gonna find a position that you're gonna love and a team you're gonna love from networking more than looking at job postings.
Great. That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Ryland, I don't. Do you want to chime in? Do you have questions or comments or? Oh no, we don't hear you again. It's all right. Okay, I'll keep going till we hear you.
All right, testing again. Can you hear me?
Hey, there you are. Good.
Microphone issues. Let's call it a day there. All right. I did have to actually drop for part of that completely. It was really, I don't know what's up with the computer today. Things happen. So EJ had some good questions. There was another one. Did you touch on this about the BA being the right hand to an agile product owner, or the BA role as a stepping stone to the PO role? And I thought that there's a certain blend of the agility, BA, PO, and PM, even project or product manager, either one. Thought
Right.
maybe we'd talk about that for just a couple of minutes. I know
Sure.
conscious of time, we have 12 left.
Yeah, go ahead, or if you want me to start either way.
Yeah, let me throw in on this one, since I have every confidence the other was covered thoroughly, and I loved seeing the MSP stuff in the chat. There was that. Okay, so what's the deal there? There is an old joke, at least it is one to me, that like, well, every BA wants to grow up to be a project manager someday, right? It's like we're the larval form of a PM. No, thanks. We're fine. We're fine. It's our own profession. We don't have to do that. I think the thing I would look at for the PO space, product ownership, and let's call it product management to a degree, is that idea of I like my view on this, and helpfully endorsed in my book. If I lean back, I can grab a copy of, right? The whole point I wrote this was people were saying, "What the hell am I doing?" Back when this happened, how do I become how do I deal with being the product owners? How do I deal with this whole thing when I'm told I'm going to be a product owner? Oh, it's Rock Crusher, and that one, yes.
His latest book, not my book. This is Ryland's other book.
We just came up with that one too. Thesis: Advanced Backlog Management Techniques and How to Help People Love Them. It is a good read if you're having a trouble with your flow of work at your company, or you want to help people see all the work that's involved in getting the work done. Because software development, writing the code itself, is the expensive part, but it's not the only part. It's the most expensive single unit of it. But if you think about all the work that goes into getting software figured out, analyzed, required, figuring out what it is you're going to build, that's pretty expensive also. And we shouldn't throw our money away on it. And that actually relates to the PO and BA space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Product owners in agility have the authority to commit the team to action and a responsibility for certain outcomes. That's how I see the work, okay? The BA does not have that responsibility strictly as a BA, okay? It's not that we shouldn't act like we have it, but we typically in the job description do not have the responsibility for certain product outcomes the way a product owner or product manager does. Get this many more subscribers, get this feature constructed, make this much more money. Those are product owner, product manager things frequently, not always, but frequently, okay? What's the relationship of the skill set? IIBA is being really good at this and pointing out that you need good business analysis skills to be good in any of those roles. Why? You need to be able to define the problem, to prioritize, to manage a backlog is definitely one of those responsibilities in the PO or PM, project or product management roles, either one. Backlog management is a big deal. Being able to make a case for which thing is most important and why, aligning with senior stakeholders, all of those things, many soft, many hard skills, are business analyst skills or business analysis skills that exist in the PO or any of those other things. Before we talked about POs and anything else, just saying business analyst and project management. To be a successful BA, you have to be able to describe your business analyst workflow and process. What are the things I will go do? You have to PM yourself, if nothing else. And to be a successful project manager, you need to be able to analyze what is it that needs to be done so I can figure out the tasks of the team, even if you're going back waterfallish. So I think all of this plays together, and it depends on what you are interested in doing as a career. If you love, as I personally do, making complex things simpler for other people, it takes me days to figure it out, but when I do, I can give it to them in an hour and they understand it, right? That I love that. I get a lot out of that. Those aha moments are what we go, oh, I get it. Now I can help others get it. This is so cool. I get it. Okay. If what you want is a successful product launch because you get excited by other people using your software and that they get a lot out of that, maybe it's product ownership or product management. And I'm going to put my last word there because I want to give that back to Angela to talk about for a minute. And then we'll be down to maybe our last 5 minutes. So Angela, please, what do you think?
About the POBA thing?
Yeah, that interchange or PM, just that whole fluidity of role, because I think,
Yeah, I
what
think
role do you
when
want to be? Because you can change through your career. That's fine, by the way. Please do it if you want.
too many people get hung up on titles. So when Rylan and I are talking about these titles and roles, it's a very industry-based definition, but many organizations don't follow those norms exactly. So when you're out in your organizations or looking for opportunities, just be super, super careful that it's good to acknowledge what the industry term of a role or title is, but recognize that's not going to match necessarily at every company. And so it's really important is you focus on your skill development, because there could be a BA role at a company that is far more senior, rewarding, and requires far more advanced skills than another product owner, product, or project management role. Is that commonly or always the case? Maybe not. But what I'm saying is don't count out a BA role because you think it's junior compared to the other roles. And likewise, like, I mean, I've seen there are BAs at tech companies that are so ridiculously senior in skills, salary, everything than 90% of the PMs and POs out there. And likewise, right? It's a huge range, and all of the roles span on all of the ranges. It just depends on industry, company size, complexity. So don't count out any of the roles. Really focus on what skills are they looking for? What skills do I have? What skills do I want to grow in? And find that match more than focusing on an exact title or role.
I completely agree. I think, I've seen jobs that were titled one thing and the body said something completely different.
Yeah.
And actually it's how I got the job I'm in that I'm in a way. And I loved it. It was like, my first question to them was, the title doesn't make sense with the description. What are you looking for? Because it sounds like you're looking for this. Oh my God, you're right. We are. I just had to throw that out. I had to put that job posting up in 20 minutes. Somebody wanted to see it out today and I had to get it done. It's the closest thing we had because they said it was a new role. I'm like,
Right.
well, if you think I'm the person, actually we do. Let's talk. So that was a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are organizations where they don't have business analysts, but all of their project managers do all their business analysis and requirements work. There are organizations that have gotten rid of the BA title and made everyone product owners, and the product owners just do all the BA work and the product work. And then there are some organizations that do that and have product managers and have project managers. And some project managers are purely administrative, and some are expected to be killer leaders. Like,
Yeah.
coordination versus leadership, very different in project management roles. And organizations and teams have very different variations of all this, right? So I would just, it's something that I didn't understand the first 10 years of my career, any of this. I had a very fixed mindset of I'm a BA, my next career is a PM. And then one time I was project and they're like, someone's like, great, Angela, we love what you're doing. We want you to PM this project. And I was like, oh, raise salary, what? But I was so young and naive at the time. Now I look back and just laugh at myself, right? I'm like, all they meant was the project was small enough and insulated enough that I could probably handle the analysis and the scope and budget stuff all in one. That wasn't a raise or a promotion, right? Like, so again, this scale of complexity and depth and skills is where it's at. We can't focus on the titles as much, right?
However, here's the thing I'm wondering about. Remember, we were talking before just abstractly about that, in different situations, growing in different ways. And as an individual, and maybe, you're running more of a room or more complexity, more volume. Was that an opportunity for you, whether you asked for it or not? Was it an opportunity for
100%.
you to, right?
Yeah.
So
And
the
it grew my
BA piece,
career.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it grew my career because I was being a very entry-level, mid-level BA. Leaders recognized that I was capable of more,
Mhm.
asked me to take on a little bit more in that other role type thing.
Mhm.
It would have probably been a career limiting move for me to say, great, where's my pay raise? Because it sounds like you're changing my title or role.
Yes.
Instead, I leaned into the idea that I had these amazing leaders that trusted me and wanted to help me grow.
Yes.
And I couldn't let my ego get in the way of like, they think I'm great. It's like, wait, they're willing to challenge me.
Right.
How
Right.
can I use them as mentors and learn from them?
Yes, exactly. I can learn on the job. Hey, look, I've just been handed a fantastic learning and growth opportunity, and I get to do it 40 hours a week.
Yep.
Isn't that fantastic? They're going to pay me for this learning and growth opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that fantastic? And I think that's how we should all look at it. I advocate that people look at work that way. Like, I get to do something I love, and you're paying me for it. God, I hope you don't find out I like this stuff. Might pay me less. Things like that. But those opportunities, right? That is skill and career growth that you don't get, that doesn't show up on your paycheck directly. But how did that change your future? Just like, how did that change who you were and where you went from there? Do you have a
Yeah, I thought,
thought?
okay, PM is the right path to go. So I started trying to get into more of those roles. I realized I hated it. I kept postponing and procrastinating the PM work, kept focusing on analysis and value. So that's how I knew a couple years later, I just needed to focus on roles that helped me add value, not manage and coordinate things.
Did it help you work with project managers later to have had that experience because now you knew what was important to them?
Absolutely.
Did that, doing a long callback, did that work at the kind of thing you said about how you might have in your back pocket the thing somebody wants, it's just not the way they asked for it? Did having been a PM in that minute help you say, oh, I don't have 3 days of work to do for that request. I just need to ask if you really mean this other thing, which I've got in my back pocket,
Yep.
like those?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's part of the well-roundedness of all these overlapping roles, right?
So, everybody, we're going to wrap up in a moment. Angela, I'm going to give you the last word of the entire session. I'm not even going to say goodbye after it. So she gets that in a moment. I'm seeing people having to drop off for their things. Folks, recording of this will be up within a couple of days at the most. Thank you for being here. Check on LinkedIn and my website, as I'm now starting to do things there to talk about what's up next. Please register for the other two events we got coming up in February and beyond. And Angela, my appreciation to you. Thank you so much for being here. I love our conversations. I miss that I miss that I do not see you so much at conferences and things. And I'm glad we get to talk on the phone now and then.
Yeah,
Please take
absolutely.
the last word, and then I'm just going to wave goodbye when we hang up.
Well, no, thanks, Rylan, for having me on. And I just encourage everybody to just be open to growing, keep a growth mindset in your career, and the right things will naturally evolve and happen. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Sure.